In August 1971, a group of ordinary college students walked into the basement of Stanford University, expecting to participate in a simple psychology experiment. They had no idea they were about to become part of one of the most disturbing studies ever conducted. What began as a scientific experiment about human behavior would quickly spiral into psychological abuse, emotional breakdowns, humiliation, cruelty, and fear. And the most terrifying part of all, none of the participants were criminals. None of them were violent. They were normal young men. Students. Friends. Everyday people. Yet in less than a week, some of them would begin acting like sadistic prison guards, while others mentally collapsed under pressure. The experiment became known as the Stanford Prison Experiment, and decades later, it still raises a horrifying question. How quickly can ordinary humans become monsters when given power over others? The experiment was created by psychologist Philip Zimbardo at Stanford University. He wanted to study how people behave when placed inside a prison environment. Were abusive prison guards naturally cruel people? Or could ordinary individuals become cruel simply because of the role they were given? To find out, researchers recruited 24 healthy male college students. They were carefully screened and considered mentally stable, intelligent, and psychologically normal. Then the researchers randomly divided them into two groups. Prisoners, Engwarts. The basement of Stanford's psychology building was transformed into a fake prison, complete with metal bars, prison cells, surveillance cameras, and isolation rooms. Everything was designed to feel realistic, but nobody expected how fast things would spiral out of control. The students assigned as prisoners were arrested at their homes without warning by real police officers cooperating with the experiment. They were handcuffed, searched, fingerprinted, and driven to the mock prison in police cars, while neighbors watched in confusion. From the very beginning, the humiliation felt real. Once inside the prison, the prisoners were stripped, sprayed for deluging, forced to wear uncomfortable prison uniforms, and identified only by numbers instead of names. Their individuality slowly disappeared. Meanwhile, the guards were given mirrored sunglasses, wooden batons, military-style uniforms, and complete authority over the prisoners. The researchers gave them almost no rules except one: maintain order. At first, some guards seemed awkward and unsure of themselves. But then something changed. Within hours, guards began asserting dominance over the prisoners. They ordered inmates to do endless push-ups, stand for hours during roll calls, clean toilets with bare hands, and obey humiliating commands. Some guards started enjoying the power. The basement prisons slowly transformed into something terrifyingly real. The prisoners became emotionally broken, anxious, and hopeless. Some cried uncontrollably. Others stopped speaking altogether. One prisoner suffered such an intense emotional breakdown that researchers had to remove him from the experiment early. But instead of stopping the study immediately, the abuse continued. The guards became increasingly aggressive and psychologically cruel. They woke prisoners in the middle of the night for pointless punishments. They deprived them of sleep. They isolated rebellious prisoners in tiny dark closets. Some guards forced the inmates to simulate degrading acts, while others watched and laughed. And what shocked researchers most was how quickly the students adapted to their new identities. The guards no longer behaved like college students pretending to be guards. They behaved like actual authoritarian prison officers. And the prisoners stopped acting like volunteers in an experiment. They began behaving like powerless inmates trapped inside a real prison. The lines between reality and roleplay disappeared. Even Philip Zimbardo himself became emotionally involved in the experiment. Instead of acting as an objective scientist, he began behaving like the prison superintendent, focusing more on maintaining control than protecting participants. The situation became so disturbing that outside observers were horrified when they witnessed what was happening inside the basement prison. One graduate student named Christina Maslock finally confronted Zimbardo directly. She was shocked by the prisoners' emotional suffering and the guards' abusive behavior. Her reaction forced researchers to face a terrifying reality. The experiment had gone far beyond ethical limits. Originally planned to last 2 weeks, the Stanford prison experiment was shut down after only 6 days, but the psychological impact remained long after it ended. The study became world famous because it appeared to reveal something deeply uncomfortable about human nature. Under the right conditions, ordinary people can commit disturbing acts of cruelty when given power, authority, and permission. The Stanford prison experiment later faced heavy criticism. Some experts argued the guards were influenced by researchers and exaggerated their behavior. Others questioned whether the experiment was scientifically reliable at all. But regardless of the controversy, its cultural impact never disappeared, because the experiment forced society to confront a terrifying possibility. Maybe evil doesn't always come from monsters. Maybe sometimes it comes from ordinary people placed in systems that reward power, obedience, and control. And that idea may be more disturbing than the experiment itself.